The thing that I love the most about comic books has to be the hunt itself. Every once in a while I just come across a title so unique and so odd and something that I know that I have to have that I end up just going down a wormhole of information trying to figure out when this came out, who made this thing, and where I can find it the cheapest. This happened when I came across Batman Son of the Demon, as well as all the different Hellraiser comics from Spring Slaughter all the way to the Hellraiser Holiday Special. These are things that have just gripped my mind, and this weekend I ended up going over to a little outlet store in my hometown, a store that is more of an indoor garage sale rather than an actual retailer, as everything inside is just very junky and not very nice. But what I did find was a crate full of comic books, and after poring over this thing for about 30 minutes, just kind of going through all these different old Avengers comic books, Cyforce, The Shadow, I wasn't really finding anything that I wanted. I seen some NS stuff, but I couldn't end up finding an entire arc. But as I kept looking and looking and looking, I found something that struck my fancy hardcore. What this actually happens to be is a book called Darak Fantasies. Now this thing is so very interesting. This is actually volume 5, and when I opened it up, it is greeted to all this artwork that is very hand-drawn, very sketch-oriented. It's all black and white with a random encounter of red, and it's something that comes off as just so stylish that I knew I had to grab it and see what this thing is. Now what this thing holds is actually a bunch of different short stories, kind of in the same way that the Hellraiser books have, and that is one thing that I absolutely love, is a really good short story comic book. Things that I can grasp and actually get through a bunch of different stories in a short amount of time. And man, I gotta say, I cannot find anything about these things. I ended up having to go on eBay and I ended up ordering almost every volume, at least 1 through 6, and I cannot wait to get farther and farther into this, as it's just a bunch of different stories about the vampire culture, these dark little stories that are going on in their own world. There are stories in this one involving a succubus, and these things are dark and they are very sensual, I must say. These are some kind of dirty magazines. It even says on the side, for mature readers only. And boy, is that the case. While this won't be the story that I'm going to cover today, we are going to check out the last one in the book, as I need to get the rest to make sure that these aren't all connected in some way. And this one itself actually seems to be very standalone-ish. But yes, everybody, just kind of bear with me. I don't know a ton about these yet. I'm kind of waiting for all of them to come in the mail next week so I can dip my toes in these things, but it just seemed like something so up my alley. Something dark and something mysterious. So if any of you actually heard of these back in the day, please talk to me down in the comments, as I would be extremely interested to hear what you know about these things, because man, are they mysterious. I literally could not even find anything about the publishing company itself, Darak Fantasy Productions. But with the first story that we're going to be reading on this channel is a story called Entrapment. It actually involves a vampire going into this weird little pawn shop, this dark sector of the city of LA, where he is trying to maybe buy some meat, trying to push his hunger at bay, and he knows that there's going to be something special here, when basically a young witch comes into the fold, and she essentially forces him to make her a vampire herself. And it's just a really cool story to begin with, and something that I think you all are going to enjoy, and I cannot wait to get the rest of the books and see where exactly all these things are going, if the stories are connected, if it really is just a bunch of standalone stories. Either way, I am absolutely fascinated by these things. And where we'll begin our journey as a man walking in the cold night air of LA. I hate LA, but it's only business. The letter I received promised items only a true collector of the macabre would appreciate. Things wet and red, and in many cases, still warm. Yeah, I've been looking forward to this. Can't wait to see what celebrity body parts or parts are for sale. Trevor Tomac, second-rate cowboy actor, died recently. Could be his meat on the market. And as this dark entity is just kind of walking up to this mysterious pawn shop, we see a bunch of different dogs just kind of staring him down. Things that look like Rottweilers or just very vicious creatures indeed. And I couldn't tell at first read if these things were going to attack him, but they seem not to really mind him at all. Now whether this is kind of an ability of the vampire himself, I have no idea. It does seem very feasible. But he walks in and he is greeted to the man who runs the shop. And as he sits and the man walks in, he just tells him that he loves the music going on. Coltrane, welcome 45. And this man just kind of brushes him off and tells him what a big fan you are. What can I do for you? Well, I'm here for the party. He slides a postcard on the table with the same exact address, and when the other man picks it up, he has no idea what he's talking about. You've got the right address, but there's no party here. Damn, gold lame and all. And as they're just sitting at the table, we see a young woman walk into the room. A very beautiful woman at that. And as she's walking up to the counter, the man, the vampire himself, who's just out and about looking for some meat to satiate his hunger, he notices that she is a very young witch, and a very powerful one at that. He starts to go on about how this could be a setup and how this mysterious man named Quentin might have been the one that set it up. A man that I personally believe is his brother, as I've read this a couple times and that's kind of the only information, and this is why I kind of need the other volumes to see if any of these actually link up, even though everyone is titled differently and they all do seem to be little one-shot stories. She walks up to the counter and she looks down at the glass and she sees a particular stone that she wants. How big is that stone? It's a big fair stone, but it's not half the rock I am. And we see the young woman reaching into her purse, and with the next panel we just see her touch this man's forehead, and we can see blood trickling down and tears rolling out of her eyes, and she tells him to sleep. The man falls to the floor and she raises her arms, and we're just kind of seeing this almost Sandman material falling down, these little particles reaching and kind of going towards the outside doors, and she yells, "Close," as she looks at the vampire in the eyes. And that is exactly what happens. She's using magic, she closes down the shop, and she's merely making herself a little moment to talk to this man one-to-one, mano y mano, or vampire to witch, either one. Impressive. I'd say a 7th generation witch. Correct. And if I did the math properly, you, Dane, are just shy of 900 years old. I'll take your word for it. I stopped counting so long ago. Now tell me, witch, what do you want of me? And with this, the witch just kind of tells him that she wants to become of the long, dark, and beautiful night. She wants her place among these people, and she wants to merely be made immortal. And with this request, the vampire that she's seeing in front of him tells her that he no longer sires children, and he has no desire to recruit anybody anyways, or the say-so to actually be able to do this kind of thing. She looks at him in the eyes, and she just tells him, "I knew you'd say that." She gets a little closer and goes in for a kiss, and what she does is actually bite this man hard down on the lip. She makes him bleed basically into her own mouth. Alright, these comic books are very filled with lots of sexual tension, and some of them are just straight up, you know what I'm talking about, alright? These things are very dirty, these are very adult-oriented comic books, but the style and the artwork inside of them is something very incredible. I think they just ooze style, especially with all the blacks and the whites and the reds, as well as the pencil sketch panels. While this one that we are reading isn't quite as impressive as the rest of them, which I'll quick show you a shot of this while I'm talking, it still manages to be very unique and to kind of set itself apart from all these other older comic books that I actually found in the store that I found this in. But as she bites his lip, this man is very much angered. "You silly bitch, that's not gonna, Kianoa!" And we see this vampire man frozen in place. "It's a very old spell, from your homeland. It'll wear off soon. This is a beautiful blue diamond. I'll take good care of it. Come to me, Dane." And as she takes this gem, she uses her magic to once again open the doors above the windows, and she walks out, waiting for this man to come hunt her down and give her what she wants. And with the next couple of panels, we will see Dane just kind of sitting in these cabs, just worrying about where this diamond is. The stone was given to him by the person who actually made him into a vampire almost 900 years ago. The stone itself is over 1,000, and what this thing actually does is pull the ethereal energies from the people that he's attacking, these people that he's feeding and draining at the same time, and its ability to actually make him satiate his hunger for longer, to not need to feed quite as much, and something that he holds very dearly, something that he's had ever since he actually wrapped his lips around his dad's wrists and drank from the blood of the Night Mother. Siglar is over 1,000 years old. It is my birthstone given to me by my father. And now without Siglar, I can feel it. The pain returns. Red aches and black slams. The pain causes the people to fade away. The pain strips away substance, corrodes humanity. The pain is hunger, and the hunger sees only food. Easy, abundant food. And as we see the hunger bleed out of Dane's eyes, he's looking at all the people on the street. He is no longer to hold back. He has the cab stop, and he actually sees a young woman approaching. He instantly leaps out and grabs her by the back of the head, pulls her into the car, and he begins to feed, slashing at her throat, biting her, draining her of the delicious life syrup that invades her body. And as he's doing this, the cab driver himself leaps out of this car, and he inevitably runs into another passing by. The man just continues to feed and feed. And when he's done, he gets in the driver's seat and he drives away. So, the witch wants to be a broken instrument. Sterile, no poetry singing through her. Fine, I'll show her the wild raw and the black, but she will not keep Siglar. I'll pull her spine out if she denies me. And as he's driving, he ends up at this young witch's house, and he gets out of the car and begins to knock on the door as he's walking up. And truly, I'm quite sure this is a trap. How would a witch know of me and of Siglar? Quentin, my brother, when will this sad game end? And as he's knocking, the door finally opens, and it is none other than the young witch herself. He was able to track her down, and she comes out in a nightgown, basically in just a see-through shirt, and as well as just a very nice pair of bra and underwear and things like that. Like I said, this book is very much a little bit on the more adult side, but she basically tells him why has he kept her waiting for so long, and that she does not like this. And what he tells her is that he wanted to get her blood red and pumping with anger. And she tells him that this is exactly what he's done. She brings him into the house, and they both have a seat. And with these next couple of pages, we are going to be seeing the transformation from human or witch alone into something darker, something more fiendish, and something of the night. What is your name, witch? Karina. Karina, where is Sigillar? Safe. Woman, don't fuck with me. Deny me Sigillar, and I'll do you much pain and damage. I understand, but deny me, and Sigillar will be forever lost to you, ancient one. This path you choose is not bright and beautiful. It is pain, forever, and it is marked with slow, stale memories. I hope today was a beautiful day for you. Hold on to it forever. Yes, it was a splendid day. Now come to me, escort. Bring me into the dark tomorrow. And as they're both sitting on the couch, Dane grabs her wrist and he starts to make his move. He starts to drain of her blood until she is very weak, and we are seeing blood trickling out of her arms. And as she is just kind of laying on top of him, almost unconscious, he lays her down on her back. He slits his own wrist and he tells her, "Eat, child, slowly, slowly." And she begins to wake up, and she latches onto his wrist. Now she falls from the light, forever blind to grace, no chance for redemption, and soon she'll wake, cold and shattered, screaming and hungry. Birth is ever so painful. And this being the end of our story, our first little touch of Darak Fantasies, something so very interesting, and I'm so excited to get the rest of the volumes to, like I said, see if any of them actually intermingle. As the first short story in this actually says chapter 5, and then it kind of has a title, but with the rest of them, they are just little one-shot stories. So I wanted to do the first story in this, but I believe I need the other books to actually kind of complete this thing. But overall, finding this in the store and actually just kind of seeing all the artwork for itself, all these dark pencil sketch lines, something that must have taken the artist a very, very long time, as this isn't just outlines with color thrown in. No, this is all very much shaded. This is all very gothic, very dark fantasy-esque, and the whole vampire angle to it, all these different short stories, just kind of blew my mind and set me down a bit of a wormhole. So I have all those ordered, and I kind of hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope we get some more interesting ones. I realized that this story was very short and not exactly super fleshed out, but I couldn't be more excited to see where these books actually lead. These were actually released in 1994, and that is just such an odd era, something that I enjoy so much. There's so many weird and different kind of comic books that came out in that era that were very unique to themselves, and just things that are starting to get very hard to find. I know Dan Zig himself has a comic book series that I like to see, as well as Rob Zombie, a bunch of different artists, and while this isn't written by anybody super popular, or at least not to my knowledge, it remains to be a dark fantasy. Alright, I have no idea what these things are, and I feel like I've stumbled into maybe possibly a darker world itself. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you're excited to see more out of this thing. I know right now it's very vague and we haven't really got to read much out of it, but I have read more of these stories out of this thing than the one that we just went through, and they are quite heinous. The one particularly about the succubus who is just kind of sleeping with this man until he is basically turned into a person with no meat, no fat on his body, and he is just dying for more and more pleasure from this lady as she is becoming younger and younger. It is an incredibly dark one at that, so I don't know, maybe if I can find a way to go about that. I'm very afraid that it's something that could potentially get my channel demonetized for good. Not that I really make any money on this channel, or at the very least get this channel shut down, which YouTube is not that bad, alright? You just can't blatantly show porn or pornographic images in a video. But yes everybody, I'm starting to ramble, I'm getting a little nervous, but thank you all so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed that. Talk to me down in the comments about it, and I will see you all on the next episode of From the Heart, with more dark fantasies and stories, hellish delights, and you know, occasionally a nice one, alright? Maybe something that isn't so dark. Maybe something that isn't about a young boy being infested by demons. Or maybe something that isn't about somebody solving a puzzle and being taken down to hell. But what the hell, I know we all enjoy that stuff, so yes. Thank you so much for supporting me, and I will see you guys on the next episode.